Yeah, all right, Shalom, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem and Kwadash. I want to say and give double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders of Great Millstone for teaching us this word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to my fellow Akim, the hopeful elect, Lord willing, with some of those men and women that fear and believe in the name of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Hey, I'm my brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another quick lesson. And this lesson was inspired by this video that you see right here in front of you. And it's a video of former President Truman speaking about the state of Israel and what these small hats wanted to do concerning that place. So that all the things that you see today, you know, is nothing more than a part of that agenda. You know, the so-called state of Israel was formed in 1948 and really had a precursor in 1917 when the Balfour Declaration was instituted, when the British government or the crown got a hold of that land, and we know what happened after that, right? And that's not part of prophecy in regards to the Lord returning His people to that land. And so many people don't understand it. So a lot of people are perplexed why these Edomites are doing them Palestinians the way they're doing them. Well, that was all a part of the plan. So I need further ado. Let me play this real quick.
We had several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of them to be pleased. We had several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine.
So it says former U.S. President Harry Truman admitted that before the creation of Israel, the Zionists demanded that the U.S. ethnically displace all Palestinians and hand over all the Palestinians on a silver platter. And that land don't belong to Esau to even do that, right? And that's what they do. So they couldn't force them out back then. So what they do, they start having small pocket wars with them over time. And now it's just a genocide right now that's going on over there, which neither one of them people belong there anyway. Right here it is. And this is what Esau does. They fight and kill over stolen property, over stolen land, shit that don't belong to them, right? Real quick, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in this chapter is dedicated to our enemies, what the Lord's going to do to them for what they did to our land, man. Anyway, it says, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. Idumea are the Edomites, right? Starting with the super banking elite that know that they're Edom, as well as their minions and the rest of these Edomites, right? The Lord says what? He has spoken in his jealousy and has spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession. And we just saw an example of that. Harry Truman, I believe under the Harry Truman administration, that's when Israel was recognized as a country, right? So anyway, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with the despiteful minds to cast it out for prey. In the NLT it says, this is what the sovereign Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai says, my jealousy and anger burns against these nations, especially Edom, because they have shown utter contempt for me by gleefully taking my land for themselves as plunder. And not only did they take the Lord's land,
we had several other.
Not only did they take the Lord's land, but they took his people, right? And they did it gleefully, which means to be excited. They were excited to do this thing. This was something that they always wanted to do. They claimed that they were looking for other places to establish a so-called Jewish home for the people that were left over from World War II and that whole incident, which all of that shit was done to make what happened was happening and happen now. The whole World War II thing, that whole situation was ushering in a new military regime, right? Fought with missiles and fighter jets, all of that, right? Hitler didn't just come up with all of that overnight. Well, he didn't do it on his own. He had scientists, they had technicians, because they were the Temanites, some so-called Germans. They're Edomites, but they're from the tribe of Teman, right? They came up with the whole idea for the highway. A lot of the things you use every day in your everyday life and take for granted, a lot of that shit came after World War II, right? Because a lot of that shit was set for World War II. And they already knew the whole plan. Let's make these people victims so the whole world will see their victimization and they'll have sympathy for them, right? They kill their own people. They didn't give a shit, right? And then what ultimately what they wanted to do was get the land of what you call Palestine, right? Which is the land of Israel, which it don't belong to these devils. It belongs to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. It belongs to his people, us, the Israelites. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 5, verse 23. And it says, "Oh, and said, oh Lord, that bearest rule over every wood of the earth and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee only one vine." And this is the point right here, verse 24. "And of all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit, and of all the flowers thereof one lily." And that pit, right, is the land of Israel. That's the garden that was planted eastward in Eden, right? Going deeper to Jerusalem, right? And in the process of time, this man took the Lord's land like it was cool, right? And let's get another scripture, because this is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1. The book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." Right? They parted that land between those Arabs that moved into the land after a certain particular time, mainly through the time of what you call the Arab invasion, right? Anything after like 611 AD, right? You had Mohammedanism popping up. Then you also had later down the line, you had the Crusades, where the Catholic Church was trying to get hold of Jerusalem and set up this false religion, right? Which was it was kind of like, with this false religion, right? They set that shit up in the 600s, right? And then it spread, and then eventually the Catholic Church needed a mercenary army, and so what they try to have them go into the Jerusalem and capture it for them, but another thing happened, and you can look all that up for yourself. But the point of the matter is, that's how them people got here. Just like they got into Egypt, them Arabs, they got into Egypt, they got into North Africa, like Libya, where else they at? Morocco, right? All of that come from these devils and these Edomites, all that come from these Ishmaelites moving into the lands. Those lands weren't originally given to them, just like the land of what they call Palestine, which is nothing more than a Greek word for the land of Yasha'ah, the land of Israel. Okay? And so you see what as soon as they got up in there, their intentions was evil. It wasn't no righteous intentions about establishing that land, what you call Israel today. But it was all spiritual too, because the land was supposed to go through that. Let me get another precept. The book of Ezekiel, chapter, I believe it's 37. Just bear with me, bro. Ezekiel 37. Just bear with me, brothers. Hold on. This is the book of, back in the book of Ezekiel chapter 36. "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea." Salakia. Again, Ezekiel 36:5. "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, and with the spiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valley, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen." Right? In the NLT it says, "Therefore prophesy to the hills and the mountains, the ravines and the valleys of Israel. This is what the sovereign Yahweh says, I am furious that you have suffered shame before the surrounding nations, man. And not only did our land suffer shame, but also we too,
in the country.
right? Again, that land don't belong to them. So going to the book of Joel, chapter 3, right? Verse, because I read this, I want to speak on it again. Verse 2, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yahweh, which is the Lord's judgment. And that's why this third world war is going to happen. It's a part of it. Because in this third world war, it's going to get nuclear. And the Lord's going to hit that land. You read Ezekiel chapter 38, it tells you that that land is going to be invaded by Magog, right? Which is Russia and its allies. It's going to be invaded. And ultimately it's going to be destroyed. And it has to be, because that land got to be cleansed. Because who's over there? Who's over there
Even among
doing whatever they want to do over there? These heathens, man. Particularly the nation of Edom. Truman was an Edomite, right? He worked for the bankers, the elite bankers, right? And he did their bidding, right? He wasn't smart enough to sit there and make the decision that was going to happen. As soon as Israel stood up as a so-called state, an independent state, America was the first country to recognize it. And no one ever asked the question why. Because them people been nothing but a financial burden and a military burden on this land. But they're working hand in hand together, right? Big Satan and little Satan. Little Satan is the state of Israel. Big Satan is America, right? I didn't come up with that term. They did. Right? Let me see what the comments say right here. So pay attention, people. This is a slow-moving agenda, a long game. Yeah, and that's what Esau does. Esau is known for playing a long game, right? It don't matter how long it take, as long as the agenda get accomplished. But the Lord's agenda is going to get accomplished too, right? Again, you small hats, you have no right to be in that land, right? This is the book of Micah 2 and 2, and they covet fields, and this is the wicked, right? The oppressors, and they covet fields and take them by violence, right? And houses and take them away, so they oppress a man in his heritage, even a man in his heritage. And the NLT says, when you win a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. They'll start a war, right? They'll claim that the ruler is a dictator, right? They'll claim that he's a despot, even if they set him up to be that, right? They'll lie, weapons of mass destruction. When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. And the land of Israel is our family's inheritance. That belonged to the children of Israel. But they done snatched everything from us. But we getting it back through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. We got our nationality. We got our name of our God back, which is Yahweh Bashim Shai. We got our nationality back, is that we're the sons and daughters of Yasha Allah, right? We getting our culture back, which is Israelite culture, right? We getting our laws back. We got our laws back, which is the law, statutes, and commandments that are written in the Bible. And it's not given to none of these other nations. And I was watching the elders out in the Bay yesterday. Well, y'all watched it, it was a live on Saturday, but then it uploaded on Sunday, and I was watching it. And Elder Kwanawaf said something that was real deep. He said these other nations, they're not qualified to serve the Lord, bruh. None of these nations, all these nations are abominable. They're not qualified to serve the Lord, neither are they qualified to stay in that land. The reason why we got put out that land is because of the shit that they doing in that land. The same thing. And the Lord's going to wipe them up out of there, bro. Just like he pushed us out of there, he going to wipe them up out of there. And then what he going to do? He going to replace them with us, the true people, right? And we going to properly know how to live on that land and deal on that land. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 1. For the Yahweh, Bashim al-Shah, will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Yahweh Bashim al-Shah is going to set us in our own land, not the Zionists. It's not going to be a Zionist movement. And these people, they set Israel up to be what? A secular state. It's not a religious state. It's not a biblical state. First of all, the Lord ain't creating no state, right? He created lands. nationalities, right? He didn't create no damn state. It wasn't nowhere in the scripture did it say the Lord's going to set them in a state. No, he said he's going to set us in our own land, right? And those usurpers, those squatters, they got to get the fuck up out of there. And no, you ain't got to take no boat to go. You ain't got to take no plane. If you're in that land, you're going to be eviscerated in that land. If you're not part of the elect of Israel, you're going to be eviscerated in that land. And in that land is going to be built back up by your masters of today. These elite families, these elite banking families. Okay? Because that land don't belong to you. Right? And you did what you wanted to. Right? You took it with all glee and all pride. Because in your mind, it was nobody going to stop you. And really, the Lord allowed it to happen. Right? So ultimately, he's going to show his judgment. So I just wanted to bring this out. I thought this was interesting. And, it's just a small clip. I'm sure it's a bigger clip behind it, but I'll play it again.
Particularly who were against. We had several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of them to be pleased. We had several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they would.
They handed the land on a silver plate. They already had the people on a silver platter. And these people think that the Lord ain't going to do nothing about it. And that's the Lord's favorite land. Right? That pit belongs to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, his people. Right? It don't belong to you heathens. That's why it's a burdensome stone. Right? Burdensome. Right? This is the book of Zechariah 12:3. And in that day, Zechariah 12:3, and in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut into pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Right? And that's what you see going on. In the NLT it says, on that day I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock. All the nations will gather against it to try to move it, but they will only hurt themselves. And that's what you see going on over there. Them heathens hurting themselves, man. Fighting over that land that don't belong to them. The Arabs. They want to worship Allah. They got a fucking dome of the rock sitting in the middle of Jerusalem. Like that's supposed to be there. You got the so-called Wailing Wall with the small hats beating their heads up on top of there, and world leaders going there to beat their heads up there and leave notes in the crevices of that shit, which don't mean nothing. The Lord's going to destroy that, man. All that's going to be eviscerated. It got to be, bro. Right? All hell's breaking loose. As soon as that state was established, it was a war broke out the same night, that very day. That very day that the Arab-Israeli war started. Right? So it was never meant for you heathen nations to be up in there, bro. And I'm going to say shalom, on to the next. Man. Shalom.